So it's just a quick sample. I'm actually going to travel back in time and then show you the final steps of how I got this thing finished. So here's just a quick listen. You can hear the range of timbre diversity here. And just to compare this now custom Piccolo mandolin with a full-sized mandolin, I'll do a dedicated video as well, but you can hear the difference. So you have that a bigger, deeper, boomier sound. It's more robust when you have a capo on a mandolin. This is a Nashville mahogany solid carved top. And you have a spruce top, which was previously a sopranissimo ukulele. This has a brighter timbre to it. It has a voice that complements a mandolin ensemble, and it certainly adds more textural depth to your group. If you had two mandolins and one of them was on capo 5, it would sound quite dull. You're just creating, you're adding sound that's already quite similar to each other, but this has this bright, quite sweet timbre, and it's a unique voice in terms of the mandolin family. So it's quite nice to have this as an option when you're in an ensemble. That capo makes it a difficult reach there. There's a stridentness and a brightness and a sweetness to this timbre that really complements, and it really adds something to your mix if you've got your mandolins in there. So, all right, I'm going to switch over and just show you the final steps to how I finish this. Hi everyone, hello. Jarrell here. I'm just working on step 2 of converting this sopranissimo ukulele, pocket ukulele, 11-inch scale length, and I'm converting that into a piccolo mandolin, or more accurately, a piccolo mandolinetto. I have light gauge strings here. These are silver plated, 9 to 31, pretty cheap strings, 9 to 31s. I wanted very lightweight, so these are the lightest strings I could get, and I'll be tuning, you know, about 5 steps up, I think, from the standard mandolin. Okay, so what I've done since the last video is, wow, holy smokes, these are very long strings. Ooh, oh boy, wow, these would go on a lot of other instruments. They're pretty long. Okay, so what I've done is I'd used my files here, and I had carved out the nut. And it's not pretty. I could have just started brand new with a blank, but I didn't want to. I just wanted to use whatever was on there. So it looks pretty gnarly, but I know that it'll work. I know it's functional because I've done this quite a few times before on modifications. So I measured it out. The strings are a little closer together than they would be on other instruments because the neck is so small. I just used a little ruler. You could use a digital caliper as well. So I've measured about 2 millimeters between each string, which leaves about 4 or so millimeters in between each course. So I'm going to start with my lowest string here. And what I'm trying to do is, well, I put a little bit of glue on the nut as the nut came off while I was cutting some slots in there. But I want to hold that down, and then I want to measure. I want to see where this sits. I'm going to put the bottom string and the top string on, and I'm going to mark out where those should sit, and then I'm going to measure and then mark out the slots for the rest of the strings, so I'll know where everything should sit. So here we are. This is my first time putting strings on this bad boy. I'm pretty excited about it. These are, it's more than twice as long as the instrument itself, which is pretty funny. Okay, so here we go. I've added the extra tuning machines here. All right, so here we go. I'll just do a little trick here. I'll mark out like that. And these are, having these one-to-one friction tuners is nice because they tune pretty quickly because they don't have a ratio. They just turn. Okay, I think that'll do it. All right. I don't want to tighten it until I have my other string to apply opposite force. So I want to move down on the peg here. All right, so I want to take some of the slack out. I'm seeing that's too many coils and it's going to bottom out. So we're going to pull that through just a bit. There we go, and I'm thinking that'll probably do it here. Okay, that's probably going to be not too bad. See how it's pulling sideways on that, and it's pulled it, which I'm not super happy about. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm actually going to wind this in the opposite direction so it doesn't... See, that's what I wanted to test, was that perpendicular force. I'm not happy about it. So I'm actually going to wind this in the opposite direction. Okay. And again, we want to move down along that tuning peg there. Okay, make sure that's lined up. Okay. Cool, we're looking all right there. Okay, so you can see that's lined up. I had to go opposite direction in order to get it to line up. So we will have to work on our intonation a bit, and that action is obscenely high. So I will have to do a fair bit of work. You can see that's sitting up, so I'm going to have to cut that slot a fair bit. So I can do that after I mark out my notches and my slots. Okay, I'll go to course 1, and we'll get my strings. We'll sit them on the opposite end here. Oh, Nelly, these are light. What? 9s, it said? Is that 9? Wow, that's a pretty light 9 if I've ever felt it. Okay, it kind of feels like a 7 to me, but that's thin. That's thin, all right. Okay. Just want to sit 1 first so I can see where things line up. And I suspect that I might have to do opposite directions on those tuning machines there, the pegs. Okay. We'll sit him, we'll thread that through there, get our 2 strings in. Okay, I'm just going to very roughly measure that like so. Yeah, I'll call it like that. That's all right. Right, I'm going to go the opposite direction. That's right, because I want it to pull opposite force. Okay. I'm just going to have to visually look and remember which. Well, make sure that's traveling down the peg the whole way. Hey, that's got some pretty nice timbre to it. Let me just grab a thing here. And of course, you can't tell what an instrument's going to sound like until it's under full tension. So that action is very high at the nut. So I can see that. I'm going to have to keep working on that. I already carved down on those slots a huge amount. Let's see what it sounds like. And of course, you know, as you tune up on that. I don't have my tuner with me. So a fair amount of those intonation issues are coming from the fact that this action at the nut is so high that I have to push down a fair bit. So I will keep working on that, and I will have to mark out where I want these to sit. So I have to, what I'm going to do is just push the strings over, and I look at where they sit on the neck until they're lined up with the taper of the neck, and then I'm going to mark that, and then I'm going to cut a slot. And that way, you have to have good slots on your saddle. You don't want them too deep. If your slots are too deep on your saddle, they're going to bind, and it's going to result in tuning instability. But you want enough of a slot so that as your string vibrates left and right, you're not losing the vibrations. You want it to sit in that slot so it transfers the vibrations efficiently to the saddle, through the bridge, and then onto the top of the instrument. So I'm just going to mark that now. I'm going to see, like this is following the taper already a little bit, but I want it following the taper just a little bit more, so I'm going to push it a little, and I'll just mark on either side of that string there so I can see where I want to cut that. And this guy, this is fine where it is. I'm just going to mark that. That's fine where he is. Okay, so I'll just cut a little slot there. That's looking good to me. So once those are sitting in there, I'm going to use my little ruler. Again, I've set my digital caliper somewhere, and not sure where it is at the moment, but I'm going to just measure. This is kind of clear so I can see through it. So this actually works quite nicely for me too, just as well as a digital caliper. I'm just going to mark out the 2 millimeters between the strings. Again, if this were a typical mandolin instrument, maybe I'd do 3 millimeters or so. So I can see where I need to mark those. So I'll just very quickly just show you using this tool here. I'm just going to just very, very, very roughly put a slot in there. I'm going to angle it downwards towards where the strings are mounted. What a nice sound. What a nice sound. So again, I don't want a trough in there, you know, I don't want to cut a huge slot. I just want to hold the string in place to help transfer the vibrations through the saddle. Oop. Okay. Slipped a little bit there. Don't think my dog likes that sound. I'll just cut a little slot here, doesn't need to be giant. Yeah, that's enough to sit in there. And there, you can hear it click in. Now let's just give it a quick strum test. Whoa, that's got an interesting ring to it. Okay, anyway, this video wasn't as interesting as the first one, I think, because I was doing more things. So in the next video, I'll have it all finished and I will play it properly for you. And then you can hear what it sounds like. I'll compare it to the sound of a standard mandolin. I will put a capo on a standard mandolin and compare it to just playing this, and you'll hear the difference in the timbre and why having a dedicated piccolo mandolin adds something interesting to an ensemble. It is the timbre and it's the variation in the voice. It sounds sweeter and brighter than just putting a capo on the 5th fret of your mandolin. So I hope that was interesting. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you around. I think I'm hurting my neck leaning over like